anything done. I guess this car isn't gonna finish itself. Guys, we're back at this shop, and after 2 months of not uploading, I have zero explanation for you guys and zero proper, I guess you could say, excuse. I don't really know what I've been doing. I've been working on Natty Auto Parts the last 2 months, trying to expand the business and hiring more employees. Thankfully, everything's been gravy in the Navy. But that's been taking a huge toll on getting this bad boy ready for Beamer Invasion of 2025. So that being said, we need to get on this car because Beamer Invasion is 2 months away. So this wagon's literally just been chilling here. I honestly have not had any time to work on it. And I think I've worked on a few clips. Like I'm gonna go ahead and throw in some of the content that I've actually got working on, like for example, the mirrors and some interior pieces. But for the most part, have not been able to work on this car because of the fuel tank situation. Turns out if you drop the fuel tank out of that, we accidentally drilled into it because that's what we do with every single one of our cars before junking the cars. So the boys actually drilled into this one. So I didn't have a fuel tank for the longest time. Picked up another M4. That one, unfortunately, was burned, so the fuel tank was melted. And finally picked up another M4 in AzaAutoWheel Auto Parts. And we finally got a perfect fuel tank, so super stoked about that. So that being said, guys, we have the suspension right here, the whole rear end of our F8X M3 that needs to be going into this wagon today. I'm literally not leaving this shop until that fuel tank's in the car installed properly and our entire rear end. This car currently is back heavy, so adding more weight to the rear is not going to really help our situation and pretty much our weight distribution, but it needs to get done before actually adding the whole front end things to the car because this area is pretty much where all the lines and cables get a little messy and goes into the rear of the trunk. I need to make sure this entire situation is situated first before actually dropping in any front end parts and again blocking any of those wiring that goes to the back. So Beamer Invasion is in literally 2 months. We have a big countdown before, September, I think it's like what, September 17th. So we need to get on this build ASAP. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get our new fuel tank installed. So guys, great news. So we got this part of the canister of the M3, the actual canister, the actual sensor from the M20 actually plugs into the canister of the M3, and the 2 DMTL lines actually plug into the canister as well, like factory. So far so good. Everything is connected to the fuel tank from the bottom side at least. On the top of the fuel tank too, this line connected, thankfully, easy peasy lemon breezy. This connector though is not connecting. So yeah, we need to figure out how to actually get, it looks like this connector would connect over here, but as you guys can see, this one has nothing inside of it, and the M3 one's a different connector. So now we're gonna have to go ahead and figure out how to transfer this connector over from the M3 so we can get the fuel tank fully hooked up. So yeah, just as I suspected, the connector is completely different, and there's actually 7 wires compared to 5 wires, or 5 wires and 7 wires on the M3. So that is more of a wiring thing. Probably gonna tackle that a little bit later. Again, my goal is to get the whole rear end into this car right now. So we have everything from the bottom of the car hooked up. We can always easily access this and connect the final connector later. So it's not a big deal, but so far so good. At this point, guys, let's go ahead and transfer over these 2 things, connect the e-brake, so then we are ready to actually drop in our complete F8X rear end with only 44,000 miles. This thing's gonna be absolutely beautiful once installed. So thanks to my boy Eli, who was able to help me lift this thing up. We got everything bolted down and torqued down, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. So we finally have the M calipers, the M suspension, the M rotors, the M hubs, the M diffs. That's all installed with the M fuel tank. So we're all graving the Navy there. So looking at this right now, we also just connected our fuel lines. The sensors, thankfully, was a plug and play as well right there. So far learning a few things. Let's go ahead and route our e-brake lines. And then I know there's a ground strap and there's supposed to be a few connectors to the diff. So let's see if anything connects to that stuff on the undercarriage. And if they don't connect, we just need to make sure we cut the wiring out of our donor car and then figure out how to wire that later. So I grounded it basically on a point that looks like this on the undercarriage of the car. This should be good enough, hopefully. If I have any faults, obviously, for the rear end stuff or the diff things, then obviously I'll know to check that ground strap. There's two connectors that need to go into the diff that are non-existent on this car. It's F8X specific, so we're gonna have to add the wiring for that. I have my boy Nick. I'm gonna be flying out in about 3 weeks from now. Like I said, guys, Beamer Fest is about 2 months away. This car needs to be ready to go in 2 months. I'm putting myself on a time scratch and a goal because I wanna get this car done, and I also really want to bring it to Beamer Invasion. So follow along for the journey in the next couple of videos, and that's pretty much what's going to be happening with this car. So my boy Nick is going to be coming out in about 3 weeks to help us do all the wiring, and he told me when I come out in 3 weeks, I need the entire drivetrain to be in the car. So we got the fuel tank, we got the whole rear end inside the car bolted up. So at this point, guys, we do need to start working on the front end section. So I think tomorrow, first thing when I get in here, I'm going to go ahead and start taking apart the rest of this stuff, transfer over the rest of the things from the M3, and then started getting an entire drivetrain bolted up over here. I know we have to replace a couple lines, a couple brackets, the steering rack connectors, and a few other things that we need to transfer over. So that'll be first thing tomorrow. In the meantime, guys, I'm pretty happy with the progress we made today with the fuel tank and the whole rear end. Thankfully, most of the stuff is direct bolt-on, and you guys can see from this angle, looks so good with the blue calipers. I cannot wait to get the M3 quarter panels on this car. It's gonna look so good. And also having both these wagons side by side is gonna be the ultimate dream. So yeah, I am more motivated than ever to get this car officially done. So anyways, I'll catch you guys tomorrow and starting to work on the front end. Bro, you better show up tomorrow. You have literally not been doing anything the past 2 months, and Beamer Invasion's in 2 months. If you don't show up tomorrow, this thing ain't getting done. I know. I mean it this time. I need to get this car done, so have faith. I'll be here tomorrow morning. Catch you then.
So as promised, guys, I got straight to work the next day, but I decided to actually start working on something that's not mechanical, something that's more aesthetic, something that actually makes this thing look more like an F81 M3. But we actually ran into a little bit of an issue. Got the proper ones from an F80 donor car, slapped it on the doors, and that was literally the only difference in terms of the doors. Thankfully, our wiring was already pre-wired for cameras, so our camera side mirrors will fit perfectly. We got everything wired up and everything ended up looking perfect. I mean, just check these mirrors out. They look absolutely phenomenal.
Guys, that looks so good. I know that's one of the few things we put on there, but the fact that it's already paint match and it's an F80 mirror shadow line with our shadow line F31 window trim officially makes this thing an F81, which looks absolutely bazongers. I love how the Alpine white literally matches the factory paint. This thing looks so good.
Now, unfortunately, we have to stop with the cosmetics and start focusing back with the electronic work because we need to get this thing running and driving. So let's go ahead and install our new ground strap that we actually had to transfer over from our F80 donor car.
And just like that, guys, I got these two pretty much pulled out from the battery compartment. So let's go ahead, pop it all out, and get rid of this cable and bring over our F80 cable.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, you really don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. I went in and replaced the entire cable. You could have honestly cut it from the top of the engine bay and just pretty much splice in the new connector from the F80, but I honestly wanted to do everything like OEM. I really didn't want anything spliced. I wanted it to look like it came from the factory as an F81 M3, so I'm not doing anything to where we have to do any cutting, resplicing, soldering, anything like that. I want it to be as OEM as possible. The only soldering we have to do is the actual wiring that we have to do.
And guys, just like that, we got the the F80 positive cable right there. We got it all routed, and thankfully all the clip-on points from the undercarriage of the car went in the way it's supposed to from factory. Right, as you guys can see, it goes right over the fuel tank up there, and it actually goes right above the rear subframe right there, and then it goes all the way around into the battery compartment right over here and plugged in just like that. So yeah, this cable's officially been converted. I'm gonna go ahead and put on that last screw, and then we should be good to go. So now that we're ready for drivetrain, let me show you guys our new donor car. Originally, we had our drivetrain showing right here next to this beautiful R8 engine, but our buddy Jake Schneider needed an engine for his M4 ASAP, and I had to sacrifice my bad boy so he can get his M4 on the road ASAP. So now that his M4 is gravy in the Navy, it is time to focus on our F81 M3 Beamer Invasion. So we finally picked up a perfect donor car for our build. As you guys can see right here, this bad boy, there is no way to bring it back to life. On this side, it doesn't look too bad. Over here, it's not looking crazy either, but as soon as you go off to the other side, you guys can see the fire damage gets pretty crazy on this side, to the point to where I think it even has some structural damage. So we went ahead and actually got this car for parts here at Natty Auto Parts, but for us, we're gonna be reusing this drivetrain. We're gonna be pulling this thing out and making it look brand new and put in our F81 M3, and because it's only fire damage, I believe everything, including the subframe, is intact with no bends or anything like that, so I hope it's gonna be good. But without further ado, let's go ahead, get this thing in the shop, get it parted out, so we can finally have a drivetrain for our F81 M3. So a few days later, we finally have everything we need to get this engine in our wagon, which again, we're doing in today's video. So a few things you have to install onto this engine before actually getting it in the car, because I don't want to do this job again, which is new oil pan gaskets, new valve cover gaskets, new pulleys, new belts. We can do all this kind of stuff inside the car. It'll just be a whole lot more money. So I figured let's go ahead and do it outside the car. It'll be a whole lot more satisfying, and then get it all in at the same time. That being said, shout out to Evan right now. He got all this stuff programmed for us. We have a new KeyCast DME with the new G80 keys, which is just super sick for this build. Like I told you guys, we're going all out on this build. I'm gonna have his info linked down below. He does transmission coding, cloning, programming, anything you guys can possibly think of. New keys for BMWs, this guy does it. I have his info linked down below. I know a lot of you guys always ask me, where do I get my stuff coded? Linked down below. Also, shout out to Gates for sending me out some belts, some pulleys, some other hoses. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this stuff on the engine. I'll show you guys everything else our engine needs as well. So we finally got an engine. I mean, you guys can see we have an S55 donor engine that ended up being bad. We have two right there with its own issues. We have another one right there with the spark plug hole issue. That one's actually getting walnut blasted, fully stripped down. That one over there, we also have it walnut blasted, fully stripped down. So we actually have a lot of S55s in stock as of right now. But the first 2-3 that we got for the donor car ended up having a lot of issues. So this one right here is a complete assembly out of this F80. This is probably the most put together engine that we have currently, but it still has a few issues that we need to sort out before actually dropping it in the car. So as you guys can see right here, this actuator right here unfortunately got damaged. So we need to remove a few bolts there and swap that out. So that's one issue right there. The next thing is there's a coolant hose on the front of this water pump that has a little gouge in it. That needs to get replaced. There's this harness that we actually have to replace as well. Literally for the only reason that it's like a little bit damaged right there. I mean, technically we could just kind of run this or just cut a wire here, re-splice it. But honestly guys, we have a harness. So we're just gonna go ahead and replace the entire harness there. We need to replace this boot right here. We need to install the new DME that chills right over here. We have an AC compressor over here with a little bit of damage. So we have a new AC compressor, gonna be swapping that out with. And then we also have new pulleys and belts from Gates, which is gonna be super nice as well. Again, just knocking out all the maintenance. And speaking of maintenance, we have a new valve cover gasket and a new oil pan gasket chilling right here. We got an OEM BMW oil pan gasket, and then this is like an OE, I believe, replacement. So, and a new filter, of course. Not to mention, we're probably gonna do a compression test on this as well, just to ensure the fact that we're actually cranking on the car, we're not having any compression issues. So yeah, all that stuff's getting done by my boy Erlan. He is over right now. He's gonna be helping us out, knock out everything on this engine. So I'm gonna go get some lunch, we'll get back, and then we'll see what's going on. But hopefully we can get this thing fully sorted so we can get it into our F81 M3.
So shout out to my boy Erlon for coming over and helping us do compression tests, helping us with the oil pan, helping us with a bunch of things on this motor to make sure it's actually in perfect running shape before actually installing it in the car. We got this engine from a car that we weren't able to start up, so we had no guarantees that it was actually good, but thankfully after some testing we're pretty confident that this engine is going to run perfectly fine. So we decided to do some extensive maintenance, as you guys can see, and we're trying to make this thing as perfect as possible. So while Erlon's actually working on servicing the engine, I decided, you know what, let me go ahead and button up everything we possibly can in the engine bay, so as soon as that engine's ready, we can pretty much slap it inside the car.
So guys, we officially did it, and honestly, knocking this out made me realize how easy this build is gonna be. This guy literally took me a year and a half, and I actually reached out to a company that also builds wagons in Los Angeles, and they even told me that this car took them a long time, but this car took them a little to no time, and they don't know why I'm not working on this build. So I went in and asked them a few questions, and I started to understand why it's so easy. So instead of telling you guys the secrets, let me show you. So in this video, guys, we are already ready for Drivetrain, which is kind of insane to say. There is some wiring that we haven't finished yet, but thankfully it is going into this area right here behind the dashboard. We can get that stuff sorted while the engine's inside the car, but we do want everything hooked up so when we are ready to turn on this engine and see if everything works, the engine's already in the car. So I figured let's go ahead and swap out the last thing I could possibly think of before actually slapping in the Drivetrain, which is this side skirt brackets. I'm pretty sure they are different, so let's go ahead and take off those 3 brackets on each side and replace them with the M3 one. So guys, I officially got stumped on this. I actually can't put the full M3 brackets on here without actually getting some body work and some welding done right here with the quarter panel. Mainly if you guys actually look at this arrow, it's facing the front of the car, all 3 of these, just like the rest of these, which is perfectly fine. But these 3 are supposed to be facing the opposite direction on an M3. Let me show you guys. Guys, look on this car, we have all these arrows facing forward and then just switches. So I don't know why they had to do that, but they did it. So now we're gonna probably have to chop off this section right over here and get this welded with our M3 quarter panels on the wagon. So meantime, let's just go ahead and remove all the brackets because we need them. They are officially different, and at least transfer the 2 front ones and then just save the 2 rear brackets for when we are ready for it. The next thing I want to go ahead and install, because why not? I think it's the last thing I could possibly do right now, is the fuel pump module. The question is, will it just plug and play? Will it just swap out between the non-M3 and the M3? Or will we need to actually add more wires? Let's go ahead and find out.
So yeah, as you guys can see, the EKP module unfortunately has different wiring, but that's not that big of a deal. We'll make custom wiring from the EKP module to the fuel pump, since those are also different on this car as well. So in the meantime, I decided to actually just work on the e-brake. Completely different side note, but I noticed that the e-brake was not connected even though we got our whole rear end in the car. So I just kind of wanted to perfect that section so we can kind of conclude that the rear end with the e-brake is fully hooked up.
Got some snacks for the boy. I mean, I definitely do not recommend Red Bull, but that's just something he loves, and we also got what we need to clean our subframes.
So shout out to my boy Earl on once again. I actually went over to his house because he has a really good power washer, and I wanted to actually start power washing the entire undercarriage. We got all these parts from another donut car that had burnt damage, which had a lot of burnt residue, but the actual suspension and all the components were actually in really good shape. So we're able to actually take it over to his house. He had the proper products to get it cleaned up pretty well, and I think it actually came out pretty well. But hey, I'm not going to be the one to judge. I'll let you guys judge for yourselves. Let me know down below what you guys think of the final results on this power wash.
And just like that, guys, we have a complete subframe for our F81 M3. The subframe cleaned up pretty nice. I've seen people on YouTube, basically, once they get it down to this level, they actually spray it. So we're not actually doing that. I think this is good enough, more of a natural look. On the bottom, it actually looks better, which is what you're seeing when you jack up the car anyways. Steering rack came out beautifully. Engine mount seemed like in pretty good shape. Control arms, I might need to replace this one. Other than that, I need to replace the sensors, and we're good to go on both sides. So I'm really happy about that. At this point, guys, we just need to get our engine. And as you guys can see, guys, we finally have the drivetrain finally fully put together. The new oil pan gasket, new valve cover gasket from BMW. We ended up replacing the front turbocharger with a low mileage turbocharger with all new seals because we noticed that there was some issues with that one. So we ended up replacing the front turbocharger as well. We did a one-up blast. We fixed all the wiring that's on this engine as well. Replaced the coolant hose, added brand new belts from Gates. Shout out to them, and brand new pulleys from Gates as well. Looks like a little bit of oil actually came out as we were getting this thing over here, but no big deal. We ended up replacing the valve cover as well because that was cracked, and like I said, guys, new harness, new charge pipes because those are cracked as well. This was also cracked to replace. So now this thing is honestly fully serviced. Everything's replaced. Everything's been honestly looked through. We did compression numbers on this engine. It was 150 compression all the way through, so I'm hoping those are good numbers. But anyways, they're 150 all the way across. So typically, if they're all the same number all the way across, that's typically a good sign. So at this point, guys, we do have the subframe chilling right here. We have the engine and we have the car. So I mean, technically, I go home around 6 o'clock from Natty Auto Parts. It is 4 o'clock right now, but I'm definitely not going home until this drivetrain is in this car because honestly, guys, it's been a long time since I promised you guys this car is going to be together. And like I told you guys, this car has to be ready for Beamer Invasion. Let's just turn on grind mode.
Now, I've never been so motivated, guys, to get a car fully put together, but finally having this drivetrain looking absolutely pristine and having the subframe and having the car right here, I honestly could not go home until I got this thing in the car, so we can actually start planning out and making a list of everything else we need to get this thing running and driving. I genuinely believe that it's going to be running and driving here in the near future.
And you guys can see that we are officially S55 swaps. We have an F80 transmission, F80 drivetrain, F80 rear end. So if this ain't honestly an F81 at this point, I don't know what is. I'm super stoked on the progress of this car so far. We still have to deal with a lot of the wiring, but thankfully a lot of the things were plug and play. We have a few wires over here that are missing that needs to be connected and rewired into this car. We are also missing a few coolant hoses, which is not a big deal. There's a few wires missing in this section as well. And then as well as the interior, there's gonna be a lot of rewiring that needs to get done over here. Nothing too crazy, but we'll show you guys the process for that. But honestly, guys, the part that's absolutely insane is that this car is probably gonna be running here in the next week or two, a running and driving F81, which is pretty crazy. This build is definitely gonna be a whole lot faster completing it than the A91 M3, just because of the wiring in the car already, and a lot of the parts on this car already from the N20 matches with the F80, surprisingly. So for those of you guys who have not been following along on this build since day one, things that we didn't end up taking out of this car is the entire body harness, the carpets, the whole cage and everything, the HVAC system, the beautiful headliner, thankfully, the panoramic roof, but all of that we did not have to remove, not to mention any of the wiring that goes into the hatch and all the stuff in the trunk as well. We were able to leave all this stuff and not have to tap into it, which saves us a tremendous amount of time. And for those of you guys who follow me since day one of me purchasing this car, I decided to get a super good spec that this car literally has every single option from 360 camera to lane assist to Harman Kardon, comfort access. So this car literally comes with everything, unlike the E91, which we actually had to retrofit keyless entry and a bunch of other features. So I made sure I got a good base. This thing is also an M Sport package. So we had the Shadowline trim, the black headliner, all the little black accents in the trunk area as well. So honestly, guys, this build is gonna be completed here really soon, which I'm super excited about. My boy Nick is gonna be flying out in a week from today, and he's actually gonna be coming down to help us with this stuff. So I figured in the meantime, let's just go ahead in the next video and fully assemble this front end as much as we possibly can. We do need to fabricate ourselves a bracket for the transmission before actually installing our full exhaust. As you guys can see, I'm going everything completely stock to get this thing past California bar emissions. This car, for those of you guys who don't know, is officially barred. So in the state of California, this thing's 100% legal and identifies as an S65 M3 wagon. That's actually an 07 build date, which is kind of insane. Actually, technically the chassis is an 06 build date. So this is an 06 build date E9X M3 wagon, so super insane. And the crazy thing about this one as well is that it's a 2014 F8X M3 wagon, which again, if you think about it, this is probably one of the first M3s out there because of the years. It's 2014. I believe F80 started in 2015. So this is ahead of its game, and that is also ahead of its game, which is pretty sick. So stay tuned, guys. In the next video, you're gonna be trying to assemble as much of the front end as possible, and the side and the suspension, potentially get this thing on all four wheels, which I'm super stoked about. And then probably the video after that is getting this whole interior together after getting the wiring stuff done. I honestly think we're gonna be knock this out in less than a month, so stay tuned, guys. Beamer Invasion is right around the corner. I wanna make sure you guys see this thing. So that being said, we're going full throttle. So without further ado, guys, I love y'all so much. Remember to stay humble. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh.